R2-D2 was almost impossible because the radio control at that time was really primitive. Despite what John Steers, the big special effects guy, kept boasting how great it was, we knew it hardly ever worked. And so we had to set about making one work. If not, the movie wouldn't have been made. And you know, and I think everybody knows now, George took the two squabbling peasants in Forbidden Fortress and turned them into the two robots. And they're the storytellers, really. They may not be in the lead cast, but they're the storytellers of Star Wars, and they kick the whole thing into action right the way through. So kind of inspired by Doctor Who, because there they had people inside the Daleks. We thought, if we build one around a small person, that's probably the only way. So I hired a carpenter, Bill Harmon, who did all of Monty Python's work. And as I think anyone listening knows, they had very little money. They couldn't even afford horses on Holy Grail. They banged coconut shells together. So I knew Bill, he had a huge sense of humor, would be able to help us out here. And luckily he had wood at home in the garage. So he brought some in because we had Robert Watts with us in charge. And he said, there's no money. I'm sorry, they're not giving us any. There's no pre-production money, nothing. So Bill scrambled around and got some other bits of wood from the studios. It was a tiny film studios we were in, and found some left over and built him so that the legs went through the body into the leg itself, and it was hid by those side pobs. And then he said, Roger, I can't make a top. So there was a lighting studio at the back, and I found this old lamp from they used to light the sets in the 40s with it, and it was scrapped. It was all thrown out to be junked. So I grabbed it because it was the right size, and we fitted that on top. And I got some, I thought, wow, it looks terrible. So I got some handful of junk from an old trading post, it was called, included those lights from a passenger plane, which I stuck in, and they're still there to this day, those lights.
Well, that's pretty cool.
and to kind of show you how we started, and it didn't really change much throughout the whole making of Star Wars. Then he said, I can't make those little arms on the front, Rog, here. He gave me a bit of wood and a penknife and said, go home and carve them at night, which I did. And that's went in. There's pictures in the book of the wooden R2-D2 we made. And poor Kenny, we built it round him. And
that must show. Is this
yeah,
what you're talking about?
That's what we made. This is
That
the
is
first
the early concept for R2.
Yeah, that's what first thing ever made on Star Wars. That's where we started the whole thing.
That's so cool that it literally started with R2.
Yeah. Well, without it, there wasn't a movie. You know, we didn't have a movie. There was no CGI in those days. There was, you know, as I said, primitive radio control. There was no other way to do him. So we tried, and Kenny could not move the legs. And then Bill and I, we had an idea, and we stapled his boots inside the bottom of the legs, and he put them in there. He couldn't even shuffle still. And by strange luck, I'd bought a fighter pilot's helmet, fighter pilot's harness, sorry, from Fighter Jet as part of the junk that I'd got. I just picked it up. I don't know why, but I did. And we stapled that inside, and Kenny was able to take the weight of the wood like a rucksack. And with John Barry there and Gary Kurtz, he actually took 3 steps before he fell over. But that was it, you know. That was probably the most auspicious moment on Star Wars, because we knew then, okay, now we've got a movie.